Hey you Pokemon fans! Sorry to disappoint you, but this is a video where I will now be ranking the studio albums of legendary Danish indie art rock dreamy New Progress Mew. Enjoy! Number 7 is No More Stories. In many ways it's the band's most experimental album, with the band experimenting with form and sound. I do respect this album a lot because it does achieve a lot of interesting sounds, but it's such a departure it isn't what I go to the band for. It is interesting how an album that mostly features in major keys can sound so odd out of this world though. The track I'd recommend is Cartoons and Macrame Wounds. Number 6 is Plus Minus, the band's most progressive album. It sees them expand their sound and song lengths to produce some interesting results, but while they reached high heights with what they could achieve, it lacked a lot of songwriting hooks that they've been known for, and it does meander a lot throughout. The track I'd recommend is Satellites. Number 5 is A Triumph for Man, the band's debut. It sees them try a lot of different styles to see what sticks. But even though their influences can be noticed, the Mew sound that would later be perfected was birthed here. It is interesting to hear where their influences came from, with dream pop, art rock, indie rock, prog rock, shoegaze and even post-hardcore and emo. One of their most experimental albums, it does have a rather joyous childlike nature to it that's pretty infectious. The track I'd recommend is She Came Home for Christmas. Number 4 is Half the World Is Watching Me. A massive step up from their debut, it saw them focus more on songwriting to create some of their all-time classics. While they later would perfect the recordings on another album, the songs themselves presented a fantastic, with the experimental moments adding an extra atmosphere to the songs themselves, rather than just getting fun indulgences. The track I'd recommend is Symmetry. Number 3 is Visuals. Sadly the band's last album, it saw them come back as a three-piece to create a very enjoyable mix of art rock and synth pop. The interesting choices for the arrangements are what makes the album so interesting, with a mix of mini prog epics, to indie heavy rock and very enjoyable pop music. If they were to continue in this direction, they possibly could have had a future hit single, but sadly it wasn't to be. The track I'd recommend is 85 Videos. Number 2 is Fringes, the band's first punch into the mainstream rock world. It saw them taking songs from their first 2 albums and re-recording them with fuller production and more confident performances. While the first 2 albums were stepping stones, this was a boulder they dropped on the indie world. The arrangements are embellished to bring out full life to what would become their classic tracks. The track I'd recommend is Comforting Sounds. The best Mew album in my opinion is And the Glass-Handed Kites. There are some albums that seem as if they have always existed, but they've been uncovered recently as a gift for mankind. And this album is one of those examples. Recorded like a song cycle, with every moment moving into each other, it covers a lot of emotional ground, with incredibly beautiful moments that seem angelic, but there is also an overall grinding human feel to it that has this rawness to it that just gives it such a sheen. The production for the guitar sound is so unique, having this clean but powerful tone that just commands the ear. The overall scope is just expansive in an almost heavenly manner, especially with the soaring keyboard arrangements. But the real champion on this album is Jonas Pierre's vocals throughout. Commanding each song with great emotional and technical range, lyrically he expands this feeling with the use of childlike imagery and creative choice of language throughout. One of the most beautiful and captivating albums ever made. Listen to it as it may change your life. Also on this album, they basically ended it twice with the final 2 songs. Any of them easily could have ended the album in an incredible epic fashion, but to get 2 incredible emotional endings, it just brings tears to my eyes. The track I'd recommend is Louise Louisa. Thanks for watching. Sadly the band have broken up now, which is a shame because they were such a good band. But sadly that's how life is sometimes. At least they left us with 7 great albums. Recommend me another band to do this with, or else I'll clone you and call you useless idiot too.